Antonio Gaudi really achieved the most personal expression of the Art Nouveau style. Now, he's going to start as an iron worker, and he sought to create structures that were both modern and appropriate to his country's aesthetic, his country, of course, being Spain. And he will conceive buildings as a whole, almost molding them as a sculptor would mold clay. So he looks at buildings very differently. He looks at them as organic. And that really fits into the Art Nouveau style. And so we're going to see a lot of similarities there. Now we're going to be focusing on Casa Milá. This is an apartment complex in Spain. Now, what we have is a free-form mass wrapped by a street corner. But it's more than that. It has a certain organic sense about it. For example, if you look at it and you see bird nests in a cliff, well, you would pretty much be right. And that's how he's borrowing these organic forms. He's taking those birds, swallows, and others that will burrow into different materials, into different cliffs, and using that as an aesthetic tool. He's taking inspiration from nature like any other Art Nouveau artist or architect. Now, the plan shows you that these apartments would be, incredibly difficult to furnish. After all, there's no flat surface. Everything is curved. It's more cave-like than apartment-like, and you could only imagine trying to set up a kitchen where you can't actually put the refrigerator against the wall. But that's not really Gaudi's concern, is it? He's creating art in the form of architecture. His first concern is aesthetics. Only his second concern is really truly function, as we're going to see. We see lacy plants which inspired the railings and enliven the curves of the facade. It makes it look more real, as if there's driftwood and seaweed hanging from the same cliffs where we see those nests. The dormier windows at the top seem to peep from this undulating roofline, something that seems to come out of Dr. Seuss more than any kind of architecture handbook. It's a very interesting form. It's very organic. It feels natural. It feels comforting, but at the same time, it lacks that categorization, that organization that we so closely associate with the Victorian period. We also see a cave-like front entrance. This is looking out through the front entrance rather than in where we saw the initial photo. And you see it's covered by almost a web. It's like there's a giant iron spider web that you're walking through. The columns on the sides, you'll notice, mimic stalactites and stalagmites. They're thicker at the top and bottom, thinner in the middle. And even the ceiling mimics a cave-like sense, both in color but also in form. It's organic, it's unusual, it undulates under and around us. Everything about it seems as if nature created it rather than the work of man. Now, he felt that his building was a living thing and should be seen that way. And in many ways, art historians see it the same way too. They talk about this massive mouth that swallows people into it. They talk about it as a living thing. And that is a massive achievement, isn't it? Trying to create a building that seems to be alive. And the design is right at home with early 20th century expressionist paintings, or the paintings of Van Gogh. After all, that little distortion that we saw from Van Gogh is played out again as we look at Casa Milá. Nothing is ever equal. It's just a little off of what we might expect. And in terms of German expressionism, well, it's going to play right in there. These paintings, this piece by Kirchner is done years after Casa Milá is finished, but yet it seems to be a landscape where Casa Milá would fit right in. So we have this natural and organic form, something that appears to have grown from the earth rather than being built by man himself. And that is the victory of Gaudi in this piece, Casa Milá.